All kids are mad as hatters, my own included. Let's face it, the best way to help them burn off some steam is a bicycle. It's a whole heap of fun. Good man, Jesse. That's it. But there is a lot of choice when it comes to kids' bike, and it can be a bit of a feeling like you're getting swamped with all that choice too. But have no fear, because today we're going to tell you the do's and don'ts when it comes to buying your kid's bike, so that you don't feel it's all getting too much and you can get out there and have some fun on your bicycle. Should we do it, Jesse? High five, let's do it! Woohoo! Yeah! There we go! What, we're going off-road? You're coming through! Woohoo! Starting off with size, kids grow at a rate of knots. My poor mother knows this all too well. And when you're buying a kid's bike, it can be tempting to buy a bike that's a bit too big for them in the hope that they'll grow into it. But I would avoid this if you can. The risk of getting a poorly fitting bike is that it can put them off from the start, because it's a bit harder to handle than it should be if the size was correct, and it makes them a little bit more nervous about riding. So things like not being able to get their feet on the floor when they're sitting on the saddle can be a big turn off. Riding bikes is a super fun life skill, and we want to make sure the kids have the best first experience possible. So kids' bike sizes, they're generally measured in inches of wheel diameter, starting off with the first balance bike through to the 14-inch first pedal bike. Then they increase in size to go 16, 18, 20, 24-inch up to a 26-inch. And after that, then you're starting to look at smaller adult-sized bikes. Balance bikes should work for kids with an inseam of 24 to 40 centimetres or a height of 85 to 100 centimetres. But my own son Jesse, he is a little bit higher than that, he's a bit taller. Maybe got his dad's genes, not sure. But he's still loving his balance bike, he's still flying on it, so just leaving him be, letting him enjoy it while he can. So just use those measurements as a rough guide. This balance bike is a 12-inch wheel diameter, so a bit smaller than those sizes I previously mentioned. If you're looking at larger bikes, larger kids, then this handy chart, which is on screen now, should help you for your own kids' measurements. Just have a little pause of the video now and just check it out and see where your kid might fit into that. Right, let's see if we can measure this leg. We're going to size you up for a bicycle. Okay, when you're sizing up a child for a bike, there's two ways of doing it. You can use your inside leg or their height. Now, for inside leg, it's pretty simple. Jesse, if you come over here. So the best way to do this, get them, if you can, against the wall, then a book as comfortably as possible up the leg. So we're just going to mark how long your leg is. So, is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, right. Then you make the mark. Bit of chalk's probably handy, so we'd make the mark. Now you can run away. 3, 2, 1, run away! Then with your mark, you just measure that to the floor and get their inseam length. So we're about 40 centimetres. Obviously choose a wall which is flat to the wall rather than a bit of a trough that I seem to have chosen. You can also do their height, same method, get them standing against the wall, book on their head. Do you want to stand against the wall again, Jesse? Let's see how tall you've got. Try and do it as flat as you can. And there we go. And then you measure that one to get their height. That was easy, wasn't it? Balance bikes are a great way to start out. The benefit of them is their simplicity. They're just so simple to use. Your kid just jumps on, works away in whatever way they feel is the best way to propel this thing forward. Use their feet, use their arms, get used to riding, get used to maneuvering a bike and handling it, teaching balance, coordination, which are the perfect skills for when it comes to the first pedal bike. And these bikes, they're great for any kid up to the age of 4 years old. I'd opt for one as light as possible if you can, preferably from aluminium. Heavy doesn't necessarily mean sturdy. This one's made from aluminium, and I tell you what, it's taking a beating. No matter what you do, kids throw them about, they chuck them, they're getting used to riding, they're getting used to falling off. They take a beating, they stand up to it. They're essentially just two wheels attached to a frame with a set of handlebars. The other reason that light is good though is because it makes these bikes really easy to maneuver, easy to pick up. Remember, if the bike's heavy, your little one's going to find it even heavier. So as that first little foray into cycling goes, having a nice light pedal bike does make a difference. Also remember, if it is heavy, you're going to be carrying it. You're going to have to carry it at some point or another. So if your kid decides to get off 2K from home, you're carrying this thing back, so you'll appreciate it if it is a little bit lighter than you would be expecting. I'd also recommend going for something with a lower handlebar position and a step-through frame just for ease of use so they can get on and off. a little bit better. And also, if you can, go for a chunkier tyres. Look for one with chunkier tyres, because kids do tend to ride these more off-road than they do on-road. You're going through woods, they're going off little trails or in the park, and those chunkier tyres do give them that bit more control when they're on off-road terrain, and definitely does help get them used to riding and allow them to go places where their minds and their hearts wander to. Now, personally, if your kid's 2 to 4 years old, I wouldn't go for brakes on a balance bike. I think it's actually a little bit safer without them, because they learn to maintain their speed and not do anything too crazy, which would require brakes, so they don't go over the top and find themselves in a particularly speedy situation. Often they'll just use their feet to brake with, which can be annoying because they get through a few more pairs of shoes than they normally would have done. Going from there. Yep, good man. Okay, right. Whoa, there we go. I think the best thing to do is just to keep it simple when it comes to balance bikes. It's all about learning, it's all about having fun. It's not about overcomplicating it, and a brake can potentially do that. And they learn to stop with their feet, and I think they feel more comfortable doing that as well. But that's just my own opinion. Make of it what you will, but yeah, don't stress it with the old brakes when they're really just starting out. Where are we off to now? We've already had 2 hot chocolates this morning. First pedal bike then can be a big step, and I wouldn't rush into it if your kid is happy on their balance bike. They're bopping away, they're having fun and they're enjoying it. Leave them be, let them carry on with their balance bike. If you can maybe get that first pedal bike, just leave it in the yard, in the garden, or when you're out at the park, and let them see it, get used to it. Then they can decide to jump on it on their own terms. There's a lot to get used to with the first pedal bike, so I keep it as a single gear, which they usually come as, until it's a 20-inch wheel diameter or greater. So this is a 14-inch wheel diameter bike, so it's that kind of first size that you get as a first pedal bike. Reason to keep it simple is there is a bit to get used to. Obviously you have the pedals, which is quite a big first step, but also normally they'll come with the brakes and that larger size. So it is a bit of a step, but hopefully once they've been on the balance bike, this should be a little bit easier than if they were just jumping on it straight away. Things to consider for your first pedal bike, or maybe things to avoid as well. I'm going to get a bit of flack for saying this, but I'd avoid getting kind of toy bikes that like a unicorn or a toy motorbike, mainly because they're a bit heavier than a decent kid's bike. Plus those cheaper toy kind of bikes, they're not going to be as robust, they're not going to last as long, so down the line you're probably going to incur more of an expense when you're looking to replace components or even buy a whole new bike, because they just won't last as long, unfortunately. Now, what is a light kids bike? So a good rule of thumb is to go for a bike that's 40% or less than your child's body weight. A good kids bike will be specifically designed for kids rather than being a scaled down adult's bike. Now that means child specific components and design. So some things to look out for are a lower riding position at the front just to give more stability. Also a smaller top tube length, so kids aren't doing the old Superman position whilst they're riding. Another reason that will, make things more stable and easier to maneuver the bike. Plus a child-specific saddle, so smaller saddle. Look for something with smaller brake levers too, which are really easy to reach, means better control, handling of the bike, not as hard to pull those levers as they would be on an adult's bike. Same too if you do go for gearing shifters, look for something with smaller travel so you can easily change the gear. Big one to look out for though is the Q factor of the kids bike. So a smaller Q factor means for a more natural pedaling style for your child compared to an adult, because adults bikes, they're obviously designed for adults, so the pedals are a bit wider apart. A smaller Q factor on a kid's bike means the pedals are closer together, which is more in line to a kid's body being smaller, obviously. So that does make it a bit easier to pedal and get used to that motion. Now, if you're looking for a bike like this on a budget, I'd really recommend looking through online marketplaces or anywhere else that you can find listings of such bikes. This bike retails brand new for around £350 British sterling, but I picked this one up secondhand around £130, and there are plenty of good deals out there, because the reality is that most kids move on from their bike every year or two, so there's loads out there, and also a good kids bike is so robust, so it does last, meaning there's lots out there you can go and look for and buy for your own little one. As kids reach the age of 6 or 7, they're generally moving on to a larger bike, and they're capable of achieving a bit more on 2 wheels too. And this is where I think you reach a slight crossroads in terms of what sort of bike may suit a child's needs. So there's plenty out there, of course. You've got your road bike, hybrid bike, mountain bike. A hybrid bike is generally a very versatile bike to give to a child because you can ride it off into the forest on well-packed forest trails, or you can take it to school on the school run, riding down the road, getting to where you need to be. Road bikes, on the other hand, offer a slightly faster alternative with slightly narrower tyres and drop handlebars, meaning you're able to travel further distances and at a faster speed if maybe you're looking to get out and do longer rides with your kids or take them for a bit more of a serious spin out on the road. I guess the only drawback with a road bike is that it's a bit harder to go off-road with them. With a hybrid bike, has those wider tyres, which means you can go off into the forest or off-road trails, and on a road bike that is pretty much impossible to do. You can give it a try, but it is a lot harder. Mountain bikes, of course, designed for off-road riding. Most of them will come with some front suspension and also wider tyres that make it comfortable riding off-road if that is your terrain of choice. Bearing in mind though, they're normally a little bit heavier than your road or your hybrid bike, so riding these on a road uphill, it's going to be a bit harder than if you're on a road or a hybrid bike, and it's going to be a little bit slower too than the road and the hybrid. Which bike is best for your kid, I think, is all down to location, where you live in the world, and what sort of riding your kid's going to get up to the most and what they enjoy too. Personally, I'd probably go for a hybrid bike. It's just that mix of everything. It's that one bike that can kind of do it all, and you start to get that broad array of different sorts of riding that your kid can take on, enjoy and experience without having to potentially get different bikes for different things. But everyone is different, and it does depend on your own circumstances. That sizing chart that I shared with you at the start of this video is generally good for all those bikes too, and will see you through until your kids are around 12 or 13 years old. So the bike you see behind me, mountain bike, that's a 24-inch wheel diameter bike. So there's one more size above that, 26-inch, even bigger. Once you get past that, generally you're starting to look at smaller sized adult bikes, which is quite a scary prospect really. Okay, there you go, a few simple tips which I hope will help you get to know how to get the right bike for your kid if you're thinking of getting one for your own or any other little ones in your life. Do let us know in the comment section down below though where you like to go riding with your kids and how much fun you have out on the roads, the mountains, the woods, wherever that might be. Always love to hear from you all, and big thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a big thumbs up. Give a big thumbs up. Yeah, and thank you Jessie for helping out with our tips too. Thanks mister.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone, and we'll see you on the next video.
Yeah, we will.
See you on the next video everyone, bye bye.
Bye bye.
What would be your favourite bike in the whole world?
Lilo.
Have rocket boosters on your bike or water pistols?
Water pistols.
Water pistols? Who's faster, Daddy or Hank?
Hank. You might have to get rocket boosts that have fire in them that boost you along when they have fire in them.
Will I need that to be a Hank, will I?
Yeah, so you have to get fire in them to go faster than Hank.
Okay, right, I'll get the fire in my rocket boosters, will I?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might help me beat Hank, will it?
Yes.
Okay, back to the drawing board.